One, we are live! We've got our live studio audience here in Bishy Shore, and we have people on Zoom as well, our esteemed friends Paul and Joe. We are back in person. We've got our bagels. We've got as many people as we possibly can get on the one camera shot, but just give everyone a wave over there. Hey! All right, so we're going to give this a go. Our first Lunch and Learn back in person. It is amazing to see you all here. And as usual, for those of you who don't know, we're going to do 1 or 2 minutes just on the parasha, and then we'll dive into Lunch and Learn. We're sorry that we have started so late today. We won't let it get the better of us. So without further ado, a little word on Parashat Noach, which is the second parasha in the cycle. What a shame we couldn't get back. Did we do Lunch and Learn last week? I can't remember. No, we didn't. What a shame we couldn't start with the new Torah cycle last week with Parashat Bereshit. That would have worked out perfectly. Instead, we start with Parashat Noach, which, as we know, the world has fallen to pieces, and the morality of the society has completely gone downhill. And Hashem has no other choice but to bring a flood and to flood the world. And he instructs Noach to build an ark, and that ark is going to be populated by his family. He's going to be populated by the animals, 2 of every species, or 7 pairs of every kosher species. And Noach goes onto the boat for 40 days. And what does he do after 40 days? After 40 days, the rains subside. He doesn't come off the boat, right? We're so used to this. How long was Noach on the ark for? He was on the ark for 40 days and 40... No, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. He spent an entire year on the ark. And then he comes out of the ark. We have the episode there where he plants a vineyard. He gets inebriated, shall we say, at which point, definitely for those of us who are on the Bigger Picture series, they will recall that he is violated by his son Cham, and then his other sons, Shem and Yafet, cover him up and preserve his dignity, for which Hashem gives different blessings and different curses to the descendants of Noach. From the descendants of Shem, Cham, and Yafet ultimately come the 70 nations of the world, the 70 building blocks of mankind. And the end of our parasha is the listing of the 10... Oh, I haven't got to that bit, actually. That's a mistake. Before we get to the listing of the 10 generations between Noach and Avraham, we have the episode of the Tower of Bavel, Migdal Bavel, where society was trying to build this enormous tower. Hashem is displeased and ends up scattering and dispersing all of the people involved, scattering them all across the world, the building blocks of the 70 nations, paving the way for all of human history. And then we list the 10 generations till Avraham. And next week, we'll pick up with the exciting episodes of Avraham Avinu in Parashat Lech Lecha, which is another opportunity to plug the Bigger Picture, Monday nights at 8:30, dealing right now with Parashat Lech Lecha, coming up this coming Monday night, and of course, laning it in Shul next Shabbos. So that's a little summary of Parashat Noach. Normally, we would possibly give a little idea, a little Dvar Torah on Parashat Noach, but I do want us to get into Pirkei Avot as well. And Rita's got a question.
I've got a question.
Unmute yourself, please, Rita.
It's a good one. I've just got a question about Avraham. Or we call it Avraham, you said it?
That's right. At the beginning, his name is Avram, and he gets a hey.
God chose Avraham, and he didn't even listen to his commandments, like you said.
Oh, no, you didn't take from the Bigger Picture that he didn't listen to his commandments. Oh, no, Rabbi Nick, you've not done a great job there.
So he said God chose
well, we were asking the questions. We were asking questions that would seem that he's not listening. But okay, that will be Monday night's rectification. So why was Avraham chosen? Fundamentally, Avraham was chosen because he had stood himself on the complete opposite of how society operated, what they believed in, what they followed. And he stood completely counterculture to all of that. And he understood the concept of monotheism, that there was one creator. He understood by looking out into the world what Hashem expected of us, all the different mitzvot. We're taught that he kept kosher. We're taught that he understood that you don't eat chametz on Pesach. He intuited all of these things by looking around at the world and understanding what it was that Hashem expected. So he was the first person to get it. Right, before any commandments, before anyone spoke to him, he understood what Hashem expected of us in this world. And so that's why he's the person that Hashem speaks to. And that takes 10 generations for someone to finally get it. So yeah, as for him not listening to Hashem, we'll have to fix all of that on Monday. He does, obviously, listen to Hashem, but we were raising a lot of questions that come out of Parashat Lech Lecha. Okay, fine. Joe, Paul, are you ready for Pirkei Avot?
Yes.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's shift our screen, and we are going to have up on here just me and the words, and whenever we need to, we will also look at this. Look what we can do over here. We just go like that, and then boom, you see the crowd as well. So we are on. I'm in the wrong book now. We're on chapter 5, Mishna 18. In my notes, whether that's also Mishna 18 in your books, in where in the you're in there. We're going to be looking at the 4 types of those who go to the study house. Neil, if you wouldn't mind passing me a siddur next to you, I'll just help everyone confirm. Part 5? 558. 558 if you are looking in a green siddur. And the Mishnah that we are going to be looking at is number 17 in the green books, of course. Why should it ever be consistent? Okay. So, Joe, would you like to take us through on the screen there the Mishnah, chapter 5, Mishnah 17?
Right. There are 4 types among those who frequent the study house, Bet Midrash. He who attends but does not practice, he who receives a reward for attendance, he who practices but does not attend, he receives a reward for his practice. He who attends and practices, he is a pious man. He who neither attends, it's gone very
Have I ruined something?
Very blurred. He who neither attends nor partakes, he is a wicked man. Nor practices. So it's very blurred. He who neither attends nor practices, he is a wicked man.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joe. All right, so we've all got our texts in front of us in some way, shape, or form. So let's give everyone a moment to digest what they've just seen and pave the way for some questions. Joy.
Could you possibly go through that again, because it's really difficult to follow in.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.
So
we didn't really hear that.
You didn't hear Joy. Joy was just asking for a repetition. Let's go through it, and we'll have a look at the Hebrew as well. Abar midot b'holchei beit hamidrash. There are 4 types of people who go holchei. Right, we know the word holech, lalechet, halacha. That go to the Beit Midrash, to the study hall. One thing that I should probably point out before we actually look at all of these things is we have to appreciate the time in which this Mishnah is being written, or not even being written. That's more the point. It's before the Mishnah was written. It's at a time when everything was transmitted verbally. So if you didn't go to a study hall, or you didn't go to a place where Torah was being taught, you wouldn't be learning any Torah really, because it wasn't written down. So we have to appreciate that. It was taught from teacher to student. There were no books. And the Beit Midrash, the study hall, was the place where you had to go to be able to get your fill of Torah wisdom. So there are Arba Midot. There are 4 types. Character, I don't know if you would say characteristics, but 4 types, fine. B'hol chei leveit hamidrash, of people who frequent the Beit Hamidrash. Number 1 is holech ve'eino aseh. The first is someone who goes to the Beit Midrash, And then ve'eno oseh, he does not do. What does not do mean? So the screen over here and the green siddur over here translates it as that he does not practice, or she does not practice what they have learned. To which the Mishnah says, Schar halicha biyado. There's going to be a reward in his hand. He's going to get rewarded for what he's done, but it's the reward for going. Then number 2 is oseh ve'eno holech. It's a person who practices what he learns, or puts into practice the halachot, or the Jewish way of living. But he doesn't go, or she doesn't go to learn. He doesn't go to the study hall to learn anything. So the Mishnah says, Schar ma'aseh biyado. He gets the reward for action. He gets the reward for having done things, but it would seem there's no reward for halicha, for going to the Beit HaMidrash. The third is holech v'oseh. The person goes to the study hall and he also puts into practice what he learns. This type of person is in Hebrew, a chassid. A chassid. We've seen this chassid. This chassid comes up over and over again in this chapter. This person is a chassid. Lo holech v'lo oseh. The person who doesn't go to study, doesn't put anything into practice. The Mishnah says rasha. But this person's evil. Ooh, goodness gracious me, guys. So hopefully that helps us understand a little bit more of the English and the translations and everything. So we'll open the floor again to any questions or statements or observations.
One of the amazing things is that
This is about the fourth. I'm jumped to the fourth one. It struck me that lots of people neither go nor practice, but they're not wicked. They just don't go.
Very good. That's right. We have to be careful not to besmirch, an entire group of Jewish people. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to talk about.
I think I once heard
the majority that go.
Joe, we're going to come over to Martin.
There were 2 things that interest me in this. First of all, it shows that nobody's perfect. You get reward, however little you do. Just going is enough to get a reward. But what one rabbi told me is there is no Jew who doesn't perform mitzvot because he can't help performing mitzvot, because some mitzvot are so wide that if he says good morning to somebody, he's performed a mitzvah. So when you say he doesn't practice,
was that me who told you that?
I think it was you. He might practice.
What a rabbi!
He might not practice kashrut, I don't know, or something. But whoever he or she is, they must have performed some mitzvah during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just ask, what is the difference between being pious and getting a reward?
The difference between being pious.
The third one is he does everything, so he's pious. The first 2 get a reward for doing something. But what is the difference between being pious and getting a reward?
I think it's the fact that he's doing. He's getting reward for both of the things, for going to the study hall and also for the actions that he does subsequently to that, or concurrently, whatever you want to say. Whereas the first 2 people are doing part of the job but not doing all of it. So one was going to the study hall but not putting anything into practice, and one was putting into practice but wasn't actually going to the. We have to explore what all of these different things mean. But the pious person is someone who's ticking both boxes, as it were. And it's interesting that we always call it a chassid, and we've got our own images in our minds of what a chassid looks like, but over and over again what we actually find is it's a level of piety that makes us a chassid, and not the way that we dress. We've got Gary that we're going to. Gary on line 3.
I've only got the English, I don't have the Hebrew to understand. But is the English slightly badly translated? It says, among those who attend the house of study.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 4th one is somebody who doesn't attend the house of study. So he's not one of the people that attends the house of study. In the same way, I remember Rabbi Sachs told us on Pesach there's possibly his son,
right,
that didn't turn up at all. So is there a connection here, like the one that doesn't turn up at all?
The one who doesn't turn up at all.
Because the 4th one here is one that doesn't go to the house of study.
Right.
But we're talking about people that attend the house of study.
One who neither go. Oh, I see. Oh, that's quite an astute observation there. If I understand what you're saying, Gary, we've said there are 4 types of people, b'cholchei beit hamidrash, that go to the house of study, and then the 4th person is someone who doesn't go to house of study. So you're saying, well, which is it? Are you a person who goes to the house of study, or are you a person who does not go to the house of study? Wow, that's
It says there are 4 types among those who are
b'cholchei.
Yeah,
But the 4th is someone who doesn't go. So how is he among the people who do go?
There are 4 types of people. There are 4 types of people.
Yeah.
Among those 4 types are those that attend the house of study. I think that's what it's saying.
I don't think that's what Gary meant.
Is it translation?
You were talking about a 5th type of person who doesn't
Well, no, he was saying, where's the 4th person?
Well, from what I understand, if what I'm getting it is that somehow this 4th category, which is somebody who doesn't go to the house of study, is still somehow a person who goes to the house of study, which then means that he's saying perhaps there's this 5th category of someone that doesn't go at all. I mean, it is interesting that you mention it. I'll tell you why it's interesting that you mention it, if I can find the note that I took. Someone did mention when I was looking at this that very point, and I can't find it. Yes, well, here we go. So here we go. So the note that I have is from a commentary called the Lechem Shamayim, and the Lechem Shamayim says, like Gary, that actually, if you read it again, there's 2 of these people who don't go to the house of study. So we've started, our title of this Mishnah is, there are 4 types of people who go to the house of study. B'cholchei beit hamidrash. And then we've actually said that 2 of these 4 do not go to the house of study, which leads the Lechem Shamayim to say, and I don't know who the Lechem Shamayim is, but that leads him to say that these are all going to be people who will have frequented the Beit HaMidrash at some point. These are people who you would expect to see at the Beit HaMidrash, but now 2 of these categories have stopped. So perhaps, as Gary said, I mean, the Mishnah is not even touching on people that don't go at all, or never have been, or have never, yeah. So with that in mind, then, if you wouldn't mind just 1 second, then that category of someone who doesn't go and doesn't practice, that person is a rasha. It might potentially make it a little more palatable, because what we're basically saying is this was someone who should be in the Torah, in the study hall, someone who used to go to the study hall, but they've thrown it all away. Nothing to do with learning, nothing to do with practice. They've thrown it all away. Perhaps that's what the Mishnah is alluding to. This person is a rasha. I don't know. Joy, before we had Howard.
I think the translation here consider it very different.
Yeah.
Discussing here. This is me.
I'm in the right one, because you're further up, pages further down.
Number 15.
No, 17. But that's also an astute point, Howard.
No, because it says there, number 15, there are 4 types of students.
Very good. So we did that one a few weeks ago, probably almost over a month ago. There is a difference between it's the same page. It's just further down. It's number 17.
17. Oh, God, yeah. 17.
So there we go. So a few weeks ago.
But that's interesting.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, we talked about that there are 4 types of student. Someone who learns quickly and forgets quickly. Yeah. So this is a different Mishnah, and you're going to get even more frustrated because number 18 is also about kind of learning styles. So there's a lot of revisiting similar ideas. Yeah. Was someone chiming in on the screen? No. So we're going to go to Joy then.
The word wicked.
Yeah.
I don't know why they use the word wicked for not studying, because there could be so many reasons why one can't get
So wicked.
Certainly nowadays. So if you weren't able to hear, Joy was saying that the use of the word wicked is a difficult concept to have included in the Mishnah. Calling anyone wicked.
So Hebrew says wicked, was that just the
Yeah.
translation?
The Hebrew says rasha.
Right,
So-
can I just ask you about this one first? The fact he's been declared wicked for this particular thing, does that preclude him from getting a reward in some other way?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. And I guess it's always the same question that we could ask on all of these statements, which is that any time we're calling someone a rasha, we like brushing them with a broad stroke now that they are just Rashayim Gemurim. That's it. There's no hope for any of these people because they are missing out on one thing. What if it's somebody who doesn't go to the study hall, doesn't go to doesn't do anything, but that makes them a Rasha. But what if they also happen to be, somebody who, one of the other examples where he would be a Chassid. Right, so what if he has an attitude of what's mine is yours and what's yours is yours? That person is a chassid. So which is it? How could you be simultaneously a chassid and so I would speculate that within this world, within this one area, if you don't want to call them a rasha, at least call them this person needs to work on it. An area of focus, because otherwise you're just in all of these instances we're just labeling someone as a rasha and then that's it for them. Their whole reputation is gone because in that one area they're a rasha. So I don't know, but I wouldn't think that we're doing that. Amanda,
I'm intrigued as to why someone would go to the study house.
pardon me, sorry.
Why somebody would choose to go to the study house if we're saying this is the only opportunity. I mean, I can sort of see somebody who doesn't come to study house, doesn't learn, may have learned family or whatever it is, and they're just following the traditions or whatever, and therefore they're rewarded for acting in the right way, they're doing the right thing. Why would you choose to go? And it sort of comes back to that thing of like, it's not even somebody who chooses to stop going. Someone who goes and then chooses to disregard what they've learned. I struggle to understand that.
So maybe let's start to flesh out some of these different things and then see if that helps us kind of build a picture, perhaps, of some of the ideas that emerge from this mission. Maybe then we can see if we still want to.
Can I just?
Oh, yeah, go on, Joe.
I just wanted to say that my book likens it to the four sons and the Haggadah, and it says that someone who is completely divorced from the community and won't be persuaded to come back. So completely, doesn't want to know about it at all.
Mm-hmm. So that's the way that your book interprets the person that doesn't come and doesn't do.
Yes.
Okay.
Deliberately divorces himself from all religious practice. He dissociates himself spiritually, intellectually, culturally, and morally from all contact with Judaism. So it's not quite like not going to the house of study. It's completely divorcing himself from the community.
Okay. And it still brings us back to Joy's concern, of course, that to label anyone as a rasha is a dangerous game to be playing. But let's start to have a look at some of the things that emerge, some of the nuggets. Oh, Rita.
No, are we on 17 or 18?
We're on 17. In the green books, we're in number 17. Yeah. Fine. Let's have a think about some of these things. So we started off with holech ve'eno oseh, that a person who goes to the study hall ve'eno oseh, right, which we've so far translated as he doesn't do, he doesn't practice what he's learned. He gets the schar halicha biyado. He gets the reward for having gone, for having at least making the effort. So this is an amazing idea that similar in a way to what Martin was saying as well, which is that even if a person doesn't practice, even if a person doesn't take anything on from the Torah study that they may have accumulated, even if they don't actually learn when they're there. You're getting the sechar, you're getting the reward just for going to the Torah study, to the Beit Midrash, to the Torah Academy, whatever you want to call it, which is an amazing concept to consider as well. Even if the person went and sat in the Beit Midrash, in the study hall, and didn't even open a book, he just sat there. Even if it was the Mincha Ma'ariv Shir on Saturday night, when everyone falls asleep while the rabbi for Amanda, of course, right. That's right. So even if you went and sat in lunch and learn with Rabbi Nick and you fell asleep, you get the schar halicha. Even if you show up on Zoom, Paul and Joe, you get the schar halicha. You've made the effort. Pardon me, Paul?
I've got a big problem with this one. I don't read it like that, Rabbi. I think for somebody who attends, somebody who's learning, etc., who attends, and then takes a decision not to practice what they have been taught, or to practice what they've learned. And that's actually a decision not to take it. I find that is far more offensive than somebody who doesn't know at all because they don't have any knowledge, therefore they're not doing it. Okay, great. We should be bringing them in and they should get knowledge, they should then hopefully practice. But for somebody to actually attend and take the decision that they have decided, despite knowing what they should be doing, they're not going to do it. I actually think that doesn't warrant the receiving of a reward. In fact, quite the opposite. I think they're in deep doo-doo.
You think what, sorry?
I think they're in deep doo-doo.
Deep doo-doo. Oh. Thank you for sanitizing that for us, Paul. So it is interesting, actually. There is a concept. There is a concept in Jewish law, Jewish thought, Jewish everything. There's a phrase, mutav sheyihiyu shogegin v'al tihiyu mazidin, something like that. It is better for a person to remain in a status of doing things by accident than to be armed and equipped with all of the knowledge and with all of the understanding, and then to consciously reject it and to consciously go against doing it. So there is precedent for the type of thing that you're saying, Paul, in the sense that somebody who transitions from having the status of doing an action b'shogeg inadvertently by accident, which means either they didn't know that what they were doing was wrong, or they knew that there was a concept such as whatever it might be, but they didn't realize that that's what they were doing. So, one of the famous examples is eating a particular forbidden food. So either they didn't know that food was forbidden in Jewish law, or they knew that it was forbidden in Jewish law, but they didn't realize that was what they were eating. So that's how somebody could be operating in the world of shogeg.
But if they knew it was forbidden in Jewish law, and they took a decision knowing to eat it anyway, that's the type of person I think is being described as someone who attends but doesn't practice. I actually find that's a bit of a problem. I don't think that there is a reward for learning but not putting it. So it comes back to what we've discussed a few times, which is intent.
Yeah.
And very rarely in any of these passages do we discuss intent, which to me, intent is what it's all about. Even if you've got it all wrong, but you intended to do it right, you just unfortunately, through lack of knowledge or whatever, did it wrong. Yes, you're wicked and nasty and horrible, but it wasn't really intentionally done. Intent doesn't seem to have any view.
It's a very interesting concept that you're raising. Amanda, are you coming into?
What about if what you're learning is something that doesn't have a current, and that maybe the idea of cooking you're learning is something that isn't practically applicable to you. There are people who sit and learn about sacrifices of faith, or stuff that about what Cohen's do, and you might not be a Cohen, and therefore you're never going to, or you might be a woman, and there's like a mitzvah about putting on tefillin, or whatever it is. If you learn something that doesn't have any application to you, then you still get a reward for having made the effort to learn that.
Were you able to hear that, Paul?
Aspect of that.
No.
You're entitled to a reward for something, but just for learning. So maybe some of the idea behind this is saying there's reward, it's meritorious to go to the study house. Even if what you're learning isn't something you can actually put into practice for whatever reason.
Beautiful.
And there's some merit in that and saying, it is work. Right? Maybe you should say in Jewish philosophy or whatever. It might just be meritorious to learn that without having to actually enact that in life.
So Paul, in response, Amanda, who might have been difficult to hear because she's at the other end, I'm going to try next week and figure out how to have a microphone down that end as well. But says Amanda, in direct response to Paul, there are things that you go to the study hall to learn about which don't necessarily have a practical application either in that moment or perhaps at all. You could be learning about sacrifices at a time when sacrifices are not in play. So you could be going to the study hall and then not putting into practice what you have learnt. And that's because it's actually not relevant, not appropriate, not the time. Yeah. What if you learn about Rosh Hashanah and it's only Pesach? So what now? That counts for nothing because we're not going to blow the shofar tomorrow. But we are going to go to Seder night, So it's an interesting point. I definitely agree with you, Paul, that there is a point at which a person could be acting either inadvertently or purposefully, and perhaps that is what that third category was alluding to. The fourth category, the one that is labeled as a rasha. But there is a concept nonetheless, even if unfortunately Paul disagrees with it. Respectfully, that the Mishna is teaching us that the schar halicha, the effort that you get the points for trying, and we do talk about this in Judaism that we're not an exclusively results based religion. If you put the effort in, there is some reward for having put the effort in. If you go to visit a person in hospital to do the very important mitzvah of bikur cholim, right? And you get to the hospital and you find out that they were just discharged an hour ago. Okay, so what then? So now Hashem's going to be like, well, you've just wasted a day. That's not the way that we look at it in Jewish philosophy. We would say that no, the person's made the effort. They've gone to try and do it, and Hashem, ticks the box or finishes the job, as it were, and treats it as if that was done. And there was something, I'm trying to remember what it was now. Amanda, was it in one of our tzedakah shiurim also that Hashem considers as if it was done? Was it maybe in my Friday Kabbalat Shabbat?
If you have the intention and then you're prevented from doing it because something comes up.
Yeah.
You have even the thought of doing it, and then you have to go and do something else.
There was actually something that I used.
When you're saying Kaddish,
Pardon me?
When you go to say Kaddish and this isn't something,
yeah,
then you still get to eat
the reward for having gone to shul. You mean? Yeah. But there was something. Oh, can't remember.
He was going to get stuff and he hesitated, and he then sort of got it stuff and just leave the law out of the family and hesitated. So it's the opposite.
What was that one?
We said about the man who said that he was going to give tzedakah and he hesitated with it and then he felt dark. And he felt like he suffered a horrible disaster for having hesitated. So that's the opposite.
Is that the opposite? Oh gosh.
So it might be something else, I think.
No, it's definitely something else. There was something that I used recently in one of my sermons or no.
I see it a different way entirely. I think.
One second though, Martin. I'm Joy had her hand up.
I think the word intention is incredibly important here, because if you want just to be seen to be doing it, so you get all the cover of the term, and then you don't actually end and go out and you're not practicing or you're not. That I think is the worst thing.
For you. Putting on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sitting, studying, and then you just.
Sorry, I didn't have you on the screen there, Joy.
Getting all that.
Yeah, that's also that's unfortunately a thing as well, isn't it? Yeah.
I see it a totally different way. I think one of the beauties of Judaism is that nobody is perfect. That it's taken whatever effort you put in, however small, there is a reward for it. And when people die, we say there is nobody perfect on this earth. Mm-hmm. And I think the beauty of Judaism is that it recognizes that it's a very tough life to not tough life is a very difficult thing to understand and do every single mitzvah. And you have to be exceptionally learned and exceptionally dedicated. But you don't have to beat yourself up if you don't carry out everything because of lack of knowledge or lack of ability or even willingness.
And ultimately, there's a huge point there as well, which is that it's nobody else's business what we do. It's only about me and my relationship with Hashem that should be of any concern to me, and not to you, and not to you, and not to you, etc. So I remembered what it is now. All right, it was I can't remember when I spoke about this. Maybe it was Shmini Atzeret over. No, it was Sukkot. It was Sukkot in the marquee and in Shul. Okay, fine. There's a prayer in the green book here. It's on page 616. And it's a prayer that the green book calls a meditation before taking the Arba Minim, before taking the Lulav and Etrog. Okay, and it says that Hareini Muchan Muzaman, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm prepared to fulfill the commandment of my Creator, who's commanded us to take the Arba Minim. And then, if you scroll down 4 lines up from the bottom of the paragraph, Utehei Chashuva Mitzvat Arba Minim, and may my observance of this commandment be considered Ki'ilu Kiyamtiha B'chol Prateha V'dikdukeha. May it be in Hashem's eyes, basically, as if I have fulfilled this mitzvah of Arba Minim with every single detail, with every single nuance, with everything that is expected, with every kavanah, with every right mindset. So we say in this meditation that even if I'm getting it wrong, I'm trying my best. So may that be in your eyes as if I have done it absolutely perfectly, which I think echoes this same idea, which is, and we say these meditations, by the way, in the Sephardi Siddurim, they do this before every mitzvah. You know, the idea of framing yourself before doing the mitzvah, declaring that you are going to perform this mitzvah, and asking Hashem to consider it as if I have done it with all of its nuances, details, rules, right? So you can have any stum yid, as we would say, you know, any regular Joe, not this Joe, but regular Joe, who takes the lulav and etrog. They've got no idea why, they've got no understanding, but they're doing this mitzvah, and they're doing this mitzvah for Hashem, and they're picking up the Arba Minim, and it's in their eyes, it's, you know, what's the difference between the etrog and the lemon from Tesco, and why am I using these leaves? I've got no idea what's going on. And then, you know, you're standing there, and you might even be, you know, like we were doing with the lulav and etrog going around bushy, you know, so people don't know the bracha, so we're standing there going Baruch, Baruch, Ata, 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 yeah. And then you're now forwards, good, now this way, right. People might not have a clue what they're doing, but they're just going along with it, and we're saying, may it be in your eyes like I have done everything, like the greatest sage, the greatest saint of our generation, who knows everything, every nuance, every kavanah, every intention, and all the rest of it. We're asking Hashem to take our simple gesture, our simple act, as if we've done it all perfectly. And I think it's the same kind of idea, that Hashem just wants to see that we're taking the steps, that we are the halicha, there you go, literally taking the steps, trying to do something to connect, trying to do something. Even if I'm just going and sitting in the Beit Midrash, I don't understand a word the rabbi is saying, I don't understand the topic, I don't understand the page we're on, nothing. I can't read Hebrew, I can't read English, whatever it might be, but there is a reward for just having shown up. That means something as well in Judaism. Richard?
In a previous life, I used to work for the National Health Service, and I remember some research that was done on the taking of donors. And if you ask donors why they gave blood, most donors would say, I gave blood because I want to save lives. That's what they would say. However, if you drill down into actually the real reasons for donating blood, the reasons for donating blood would be, I want the free gifts at the end, I want the free tea and coffee and biscuits, I want the certificates and the badges, not necessarily reasons for saving lives, and not necessarily that nice when you look into it. But at the end of the day, they're still attending, they're still giving their blood, and they're still saving lives. So I guess there's always room for improvement. You're doing a good thing by attending, the good things, and there's always room for improvement. But at least going to the donor session, going to the show, at least on the first step.
Yeah. I don't know if you could hear that. Could you hear that, Joe and Paul?
No, can you just give us the gist of it?
Yeah, so Richard was saying that when he used to work for the National Blood Service, there would be people who would come, they would donate blood, right? But they wouldn't always do it for altruistic reasons. They want the stickers, they want the respect, they want the whatever else they could get out of the experience, except for giving blood. So that actually touches on another famous concept in Jewish law and in Jewish thought, which is mitoch shelol lishma ba lishma, that a person could be doing something for the wrong reasons, but hopefully with enough practice, they'll come to do it for the right reasons as well. So we are rewarded just for showing up. We are rewarded for doing something for the wrong reasons if we've benefited or done whatever it was as well. I think it is. It's all part of the same package, all part of the same idea. There's another thing as well, which is that we might appreciate what it means to just show up if we understood what a bustling study hall can really be like. This is bustling here in Shul, but if you go, for example, to the Mir in Jerusalem, the Mir Yeshiva, or to a lot of yeshivas where there are hundreds of people sitting in a study hall, all just trying to delve and reach a point of clarity, a point of truth, connect to their learning, connect to their creator. The atmosphere is quite intense and it's quite electric. If you go to Bushy Heath Library, you don't get that same feeling, right? It's dead silent over there. And people are also trying to get to their truth, trying to get their knowledge, their wisdom, whatever it might. But when you walk into a study hall where people are shouting at each other and people are engaging with one another, the noise is an incredible feeling. So perhaps part of this as well is that even if you just go to the Beit HaMidrash or go to a place where there's Jewish vibrancy, Jewish life, you're going to take something away from the experience. So there's going to be an imprint that is left on your mind, on your heart, whatever it might be. And that might not own, for most people, that won't be going to the Mir, but it might be coming to shul on Shabbat or on Yom Kippur or whatever, when there's an actual, or slicha with the Shabbaton choir, right? Where there's an atmosphere where you're connecting to a Jewish experience which rubs off on you. When you walk into a perfume shop and you come out a few minutes later, there's residue. There's a certain amount of the smell that gets left on you just from having walked in. And it's that kind of spiritual residue that we get from putting ourselves into these kinds of Jewish environments. So even if you just showed up and you fell asleep in the shir, right, you get something. You get points for playing, as it were, which I think is, Paul was challenging it, but I think it's one of the really beautiful things about our lives as Jews, which is that just for putting ourselves out there, going out on a limb, trying something new, doing something that's out of our depth, whatever it might be, Hashem reflects on that and Hashem accepts it and he rewards us for it as well. And then you've got someone who is osev eino holech. He or she might do the mitzvot, but they miss out on that atmosphere. They miss out on the spirit. They miss out on the camaraderie, or maybe even the depth from hearing it from another teacher. So over here, you get the reward for having done something, but you don't get the reward for having put yourself into that environment and trying to connect with other people. There's also a concept, by the way. In fact, it's an extension of the prohibition of lo titgodadu, that we're not allowed. I'm in 15 minutes. That we're not allowed to split ourselves off and break ourselves off from the community. God frowns on such an attitude to life. That it's lovely if a person keeps all the mitzvot, but if they do that at the expense of remaining connected, then that's not the perfect way to lead our lives either. So that's why the ultimate aim is to be a holech ve'oseh, somebody who goes and does as well. That person is a chassid. So also, a person might say, well, I enjoy learning when I'm at home. I don't need teachers. I don't need Zoom sessions. I don't I like to just do things by myself. So it's a great thing that you're doing, that you're trying, but you may be missing out on a lot of things. Number one, you may not do things correctly. And so that's why we have this other Mishna that we saw years ago, Asay Lecha Rav, that we should have a teacher, that we should have an anchor which keeps us connected to making sure that we're doing things in the right way and not just, oh yeah, I've done this ever since I was a child, so I don't need to be told how to. Oh gosh, that's just reminded me of another story. Anyway, I think I've told you this story before about a time when I was still living at home and I went to a shir. You gotta go. 1:15 minute if you want. And Rabbi Roselaw was giving a shir on the halachot of when you don't have to sit in the sukkah, if it's raining or whatever it is. So when you are excused from sitting in the sukkah. And this person had always complained that the rabbi never speaks about anything relevant. So we'd been invited there for dinner that night. And I said, there you go. The rabbi finally spoke about something relevant. When you should sit in the sukkah. He said, I don't need the rabbi to tell me when to sit in the sukkah and when not to sit in the sukkah. If I want to sit in the sukkah, I'll sit in the sukkah. And if I don't want to sit in the sukkah, I won't sit in the sukkah. It's an attitude. It's not necessarily the best attitude. Right? We may have been doing things day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out since we were children, but we've never actually checked. There are things that people do that could be complete bubba-meises. The rabbi used in one of his sermons over Sukkot, the myths of Judaism, different things that people will have heard or they do, or they've seen their grandparents do it, or their parents do it. I don't know why, I don't know. So that's the risk that you take. You may end up doing things which you think are correct, or you think are halakha, that you think they're the law, but actually you may be way off, and that's because you haven't put yourself into a setting that allows you to ensure that these things are appropriate, are correct. You got people who may prioritize a complete minhag, right? Something which is doesn't have the same weight as a literal biblical commandment, but because that's might have been what they saw at home, or that's what the family placed an emphasis on, or that's what they saw was really important. So that for them becomes as serious as, eating pork on Yom Kippur, whatever it is. So that's why it's great if we're oseh. We want to be osim. We want to be people who are doing, but there's an importance as well of the holech, of the associating with the teachers, the lessons, the right way of doing things, whatever it might be. So there's both of those things as well. I'm sure it's not a coincidence that the word that we use for Jewish law is halacha, because you're holeching as you go. You're doing your holeching in the right way. It's 1:05, ladies and gentlemen, and the people are getting restless. So I'll finish off just with one more point. That's okay. No. One more point. This concept of oseh, what it means to be oseh. So we've been talking about oseh meaning to carry out in practice, to actually do the things that we are learning about. But there's another commentary which says the oseh means that I'm encouraging others to do, right? So I'm learning, and I'm also encouraging others to oseh as well. And one commentary even says that it means to financially support. So it's one thing to be an active presence in the Beit Midrash, in the study hall, and it's another thing as well, according to this one commentary, the Mikveh Yisrael, of actually of supporting it as well. That's what they interpret to mean oseh, to do. So not just to have the facility of the study hall, but to also contribute to it financially as well. All different ways of looking to it. Okay, for everybody watching online, we are going to wish you a wonderful and fantastic day, and thank you all so much for joining us. And I'm going in the complete wrong direction over here. But join us for the after party Join us for another bagel. Join us on Zoom. Join us next week. We'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care and have a wonderful and meaningful day.